Hey, happy Thursday morning to you, everyone. Welcome back to Morning Musings. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Hey, before I get into our lesson this morning, talking about as in Adam all men die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive, I want to remind you of some events that are coming up. June 15th and 16th in Montgomery, Alabama, I will be having my second formal public debate with Dr. David Hester, a professor at Faulkner University. I want you to please make your plans to be there if at all possible. This is going to be really, really interesting. Guarantee it will on my part. Okay, and not only that, don't forget, July 13th through the 15th, Preterist Pilgrim Weekend right here in Ardmore, Oklahoma at the Ardmore Convention Center. Preterist Pilgrim Weekend 2017. Our theme this year is the problems with postmillennialism. You don't want to miss this. We're going to have some fantastic lessons. What about the redemption of creation? What about the millennium? What about the new heaven and the new earth? And what about postmillennialism that says the world is going to keep getting better and better and better and better until Christianity basically takes over? Those are some of the themes, topics, and subjects that will be addressed in this upcoming Preterist Pilgrim Weekend. And by the way, in that new creation, will there be marrying and giving in marriage and bearing of children? You'd be amazed at what's being said about that. Okay, well, we have been talking about the image of Adam versus the image of Christ. And I've shared with you some videos on that, and I think I actually mistakenly said in the last video that would be the last one, but really it's not. I want to take a look very quickly at Paul's statement, as in Adam all men die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive. You know, I have people tell me all the time, David Hester said it in our first formal debate. If Preston keeps going, he's going to wind up in universalism. And people constantly say, covenant eschatology leads to universalism. There are some people on Facebook that basically stalk me claiming that covenant eschatology leads to universalism. No, folks, let me tell you something. The traditional view of eschatology and its application of Adam versus Christ is what leads, logically, to universalism. Let me ask you the question. When Paul said, as in Adam all men die, was Paul talking about those in Adam, or is all man universally, is every human being in Adam biologically? Well, of course, in one sense we are biologically, but the question is Paul talking biology when he said, as in Adam? The question is, how do you and I get in Adam and thus in Adam's sin? We didn't get there by biology. I do not inherit Adam's sin. I do not inherit Adam's guilt. One of the most famous passages that is used to prove that doctrine is Romans chapter 5, but which actually proves exactly the opposite. Wherefore, now I want you to pay very, very careful attention to this. In Paul's soteriology and in Paul's eschatology, when he's talking about being in Adam and being in Christ, he is talking about entering Adam and entering Christ by a very specific way. And it's not by human birth. It's not by biology. Romans 5:12. Wherefore, as by one man sin entered the world. Now, do I deny that sin entered the world through Adam? Categorically not. But watch that. Watch this. Wherefore, as by one man sin entered the world, and death through sin. So, am I denying that death entered the world through Adam? No, not at all. Therefore, catch the power of this, death passed upon all men. Now, if we stopped right there and just left it there, we might adduce that, well, because I am born biologically as a descendant of Adam. Therefore, I die. I inherit Adam's sin, Adam's death. But Paul didn't stop there. Therefore, death passed on all men, watch this, because all men sinned. I want you to consider this. When Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 22, as in Adam all men sin, that is a perfect corollary to Romans chapter 5 and verse 12 in the first place. But it shows that in Paul's soteriological discussion, he is saying that all men enter Adam when they sin, not when they're born. That's a different discussion. If you want to talk biology, that's one discussion. But if you want to talk soteriology, it's a totally different discussion, because Paul did not say, I am born a sinner because Adam sinned. He said, Adam sinned, he died, death entered the world, and death passed on all men because all men sinned. I entered Adam when I sinned. In other words, we enter Adam through choice. And that puts a totally different perspective, therefore, on Paul's statement, as in Adam all men die, even so in Christ shall all be made alive. Well, the question is, if I entered Adam through choice, do I not therefore enter Christ by choice? And if I do not choose to enter Christ, to be born again of incorruptible seed, and to take on the nature and the life of Christ, guess what? I am not in Christ. Man was not placed in Adam soteriologically dead because of Adam's sin. Men were placed in Adam and in the death of Adam through choice, through sin. But all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. But you see, not all men make the choice of joining Christ. But once again, if a person takes Paul's discussion of 1 Corinthians 15 to be about biology, oh, we're all born into Adam, therefore we all die because we're in Adam. Then the reverse of that, therefore, would be, if it's biological birth into Adam, why is it not biological birth into Christ, and therefore every human being is born into Christ? But that's not what Paul was teaching. All men entered Adam through sin, choice. All men who are in Christ make the choice. That's why Paul says, God be thanked that you were the servants of sin, you were in Adam, but you have obeyed from the heart that form of doctrine which was delivered to you, being then made free from sin, being made free from Adam. You became the servants of righteousness unto life, resurrection life, deliverance from Adam. There's so much more on this, and I know that some people will not like this, but this is exactly what I see Paul discussing in 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 22, when he said, as in Adam all men die. He is not talking biology. He is not talking about being born biologically into the death of Adam. He is saying that all men entered Adam through choice, through sin. Those who are in Christ, as the reverse of that, have made the choice to be in Christ. No choice, no life. Well, if you want to see a discussion of Adam and Christ, the death of Adam, the life of Christ, get a copy of my book, We Shall Meet Him in the Air, The Wedding of the King of Kings. There is a tremendous discussion of the death of Adam and the life of Christ. You will love it. You will be amazed by the evidence that is there. Go to my website, BibleProphecy.com, order the book. Be sure to include a note that says you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I'll refund your shipping, and that'll save you about $5. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. Don't forget the upcoming events. Don't forget the debate, June 15th and 16th, Montgomery, Alabama. We will see you, Lord willing, on Monday. You have a fantastic and safe weekend.